Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. Thank you for joining us this morning for Kingdom Holistic Health Ministry Show. And I'm going to bring my co-host on right away, right away. Welcome the doctors in as they come in.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We got Dr. Huston, Dr. J in the house. Boy, I feel honored to have the superstars in the house with me today. Hallelujah. I am excited about this. And you guys tag your family, your friends, let them know what's going on. Put your question on the screen. Uh, Doctors, when the questions comes up today, I'm going to do them like this today, so you guys will be able to see. Let me just okay, what's going on with my typing? Let's see. Okay, so let me see. Did it go? I'm trying to figure out why my typing is not.
Oh, we got an herb for that.
I know, right?
We have an herb for
Okay,
everything.
there you go. There you go. So what happened is, once the questions come, I put it on the screen like that, and y'all
Perfect.
will be able to deal with them however you guys want to deal with them. So let's start this off. I'm going to put you on the screen solo. Introduce yourself, talk to the people for a minute, and then we'll go from there. So, as usual, uh, ladies is first.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Charisse Huston. I'm a second generation chiropractor and have been practicing chiropractic for, over 30 years now. And I think I'm just really starting to get the hang of this. But in all seriousness, dedicated my life to helping people understand how their body is divinely and magnificently made, and how it functions, as well as how to promote health and healing for not just adults but for children, for babies, for helping women get healthy so they can have viable pregnancies, working with athletes, working with all kinds of people. And I'm currently practicing in Milwaukee. And I'm blessed to know Dr. David and Dr. J, and happy to come to you with open arms for helping to help you achieve your best healing and health.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. J. Paul Vanden, and I hail from the great state of Wisconsin, currently living in Florida. So things have been a little different for me, but I'm so happy to be here, part of the podcast today, and for you to take time to listen to us and what we can share with you in regards to health. I'm an integrated medical doctor. I've been doing that for a long time. I have 3 PhDs and 2 doctorates and 4 boards and a lot of stuff, which just means I study a lot. I've written about 5 different books. I've done international lecturing, probably over 2 million people. I've seen over 20,000 clients in my practice. So I got a little bit of experience. And like Dr. Huston just said, we're still figuring this all out because God's medicine is amazing. And that's what we're going to talk today. We're going to enlighten you. And please feel free to ask questions. The more questions you ask, the more pertinent it is to you, the listener, and what you can share, what you learned today, not only with your family, but with your friends. You're going to hear some things that will make your ears perk up a little bit. So we're here to help you. Enjoy, and let's take a ride.
All right. As we said, this show is going to be once a month where we have the lovely doctors. But let me say it this way for y'all that on here, everybody that watched Kingdom Citizens of Wisconsin, invested in Milwaukee, Kingdom Holistic, y'all know it's all about God with me. And I got God fearing doctors on this is an honor to have doctors that love God on the show and always connecting your body, your everything back to your creator. And so this is one that I'm really honored and I'm excited about. So let's see. I'm just going to hit y'all with the first question. I am green. I'm somebody that's greened. I'm somebody that was never taught anything about holistic. All I heard was just medical. I don't even know what holistic is. Would you please break it down for someone who never heard holistic before in their lives?
Well, holistic is a big word, and it encompasses the whole person, mentally, physically, and spiritually. We are multidimensional beings. So, a lot of times, our traditional healthcare has been if you have a pain, you have reason to take a drug or a product to eliminate the pain. In holistic, we look at it like, why is your body in pain? What is the underlying cause of that pain? And how can we correct the underlying cause as opposed to just getting rid of the pain, which really doesn't get rid of the problem? As a matter of fact, there's times when you could probably use to do that, but for the most part, there's no healing that happens as a result of that. So we addressed what's going on with an individual from a physical standpoint, dietary, are you sleeping well? What's your lifestyle? What's your environment? Are you holding on to unforgiveness? Do you have some kind of a heartache going on, a soul ache, as we've talked about previously? Because everything that is a feeling that is not resolved in a negative kind of way, if you will, can manifest itself in your physical being. So I don't want to get too involved too quickly, but basically just to say that we look a little deeper at the whole individual than just saying, okay, you have this pain, we're going to give you this pill for this protocol. We look at what is the underlying problem. Otherwise, another problem will manifest. So we want to see you elevated and we want to see you lifted high. We know the body is self-healing. We know that it's self-regulating, but there are laws that govern the body, and unless you know what they are, you're still subjected to them. But if no one ever tells you, like we're going to share with you, then it's harder for you to get and create well-being and great health and vitality.
Yeah, I would echo that. Holism is really body, mind, spirit, right? So spiritual health is something that's very, very important to the three of us in this mission. But there's also mental health, which is critical. There's your physical health, there's your emotional health. All of these things are just as equally important as what we consider medicine today. Every doctor takes a Hippocratic oath from Hippocrates, which first says, first do no harm. And yet there's a lot of harm going on. And we know that. And unfortunately, we've all been subject to that. Because when we look at, medicine, and we'll compartmentalize this just down to the United States as an example. The United States is number one in the world when it comes to emergency medicine, bar none. We have the best doctors, hospitals, treatment plans. We can stop a heart attack, no problem. And we're blessed to have that in our nation. But when it comes to prevention, according to the World Health Organization, we rank 72 out of 73 countries. So if you look at what's wrong with the medical model, is we're not taking into account, David, to get back to your question, holism. We're just treating symptoms. Stop the bleeding, stop the emergency. We get that. But after that, we don't know what we're doing. And every doctor who's a good doctor will admit, once you repair the bone, you walk away and the body does the healing. The energy that God has given us is what creates the healing. And so I've always looked at medicine as, I don't want to be the one that's cracking your chest open. I don't want to be the one that's pulling a piece of metal out of your thigh. I want to be the one that tells you what you can do so you don't get a heart attack, so you don't know what a stroke is like, so you don't have to live with diabetes, so you don't know what cancer's like. Can you live in a world like that? Yes. As toxic and messed up as this world is, and there's a lot to talk about. We could do these podcasts every day for a year and not cover everything. Is we have to start thinking about what can we do to prevent a problem. So a little mantra that I always throw out to everybody is, may you never know the disease you prevent. And if you podcast, if you share this information, if you come to the Kingdom Holistic Health Ministries, we will help you do that. How to get your body back on track, how to get your mind back on track, and how to get God right in your life. That's my mission. And that's Holism 101.
Right.
I like that. For some reason, the remarks are not coming up in my feeder, but I'm going to share. Stacy from Jefferson County says, I can't stop thinking about the cheese. Can you comment on the cheese?
Was that from the last show?
Yes.
Probably. When you dropped the bomb about the toxins that are in cheese.
Yeah, you got to watch that when you're in a dairy state, right? Yeah, just quickly, back in 1987, Pfizer created a synthetic form of something called rennet, RENNETT, which is actually a pharmaceutical derived culture that they add to all cheese. Unfortunately, everybody that's eating cheese is eating rennet from Pfizer, unless it's organic. Organic will not allow a synthetic rennet. So all you got to do is Google rennet, RENNETT, read the history, you'll see what I'm talking about. And you won't buy anything but organic cheese from now on, or from a trusted farm source or local, non-GMO, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's the things they don't tell you. And we could do this all day. If I told you what was in your foods, 90% of the foods in your pantry would probably end up in the garbage.
Probably should.
Should. I wouldn't even use them for compost.
Right.
So
right. There's a lot of foods that are being made in a laboratory to replace meat. They're trying to do that now. And it's, to think that you can outdo nature is arrogance beyond compare. I'm fascinated with that. We are, like Dr. J said, we are one of the sickest countries. We've got more procedures, more protocols, and yet we keep trying to outdo Mother Nature. And our bodies are designed to use our food to make healthy tissue and cells. And if you're giving it toxins and not even aware, for example, I was looking at, and I always taught my patients to shop the periphery of the grocery store, because things that are perishable are going to be hopefully more natural. But if you had when I was in college, I used to eat tomato soup and noodles because I was on a budget. Well, if you look on the back of Campbell's soup now, they have they don't really come out and say 100% that it is bioengineered, but it's not it's a genetically modified product. So it makes it hard for your body to recognize it. Therefore, it'll be harder to make healthy tissue and healthy cells. So we are very passionate about knowing where your food sources are coming from, knowing what you're putting in your body, knowing why you're putting it in your body, because they create also with their labs, they're creating addictions to things like for processed foods. So,
I was doing some research, and I found out that most processing food companies are owned by the tobacco companies.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
You had to go somewhere with that money.
And I'm sitting there like, wow. So they said, you know what? They fighting against us giving you the cigarettes. Let's just make you some food.
Right? And Food and Drug Association, food and drugs are in the same category?
I know, right? See, somebody wrote, is rennet always synthetic?
No, only if it's in non-organic.
Okay.
See, they do not have to label that by law. By law, they do not have to label that. You can thank your pharmaceutical company for that.
Why is that, Dr. J? Because it's not actually a food, correct?
Right. Anything underneath 10%, according back to 1963, when we had it was called the Food, Drug, and Safety Act that came into play in 1963. Anything that was created prior to 1963, which was chemically based, a dye, a chemical, an additive, a preservative, and a poison, got grandfathered in. After 63, anything that's less than 10% does not have to be properly labeled. For example, they can put monosodium glutamate in your food, which is not natural. As long as it's less than 10%, they legally can say natural flavoring. Think about that. So what you got is, and we were talking about this before the show started. It's all about vernacular, right, David?
Yes.
Change the word, you change the meaning.
Yeah. And that's why I tell people, if you're going to eat chicken, eat it with the bone.
Exactly. I'll say this. I read over 300 books on nutrition, right? I had to get all these degrees, diet, nutrition, and I've studied every kind of diet on planet Earth. It's very, very simple. I tell people you can take all those books and burn them for all I care. It's very simple. I'm going to write you a new book. Chapter 1, if God made it, eat it.
Right.
Chapter 2, if man made it, leave it alone. Chapter 3, see chapter 1 and 2. You're done.
Right. So in other words, you're saying all those fruits that's in the grocery store, that's seedless, leave them there.
That's right. We want seeds in our watermelon. We absolutely want seeds.
Yes. We got to get back to more naturally occurring and less genetically modified. That's the problem. Is even they're taking healthy foods and creating bananas now that you can't even peel. They're made out of rubber. It's called apeel, A-P-E-E-L. Google that if you want to get sick.
Right.
And every kind of vegetable now and fruit, trying to preserve it. And what's happening is you're making these frankenfoods, right? They're not natural. Food is supposed to rot.
Right.
That's why seeds are spread around the planet.
And it's not supposed to last long.
I mean, think about the logic. We're supposed to eat the seeds. You never see a horse peel an apple. It eats the whole apple, right? We're supposed to eat these seeds. Why? Because, I'm sorry, this is not graphic, but we're supposed to defecate these seeds and leave them somewhere. That's how things get moved around the planet.
Yes.
Right?
Well, it's the truth.
Apple seed in a different way. So you take out the seeds, what are you doing? You're just creating food that wasn't created by God. Right. And that's always a suspect. And people will argue this and say, well, corn was genetically modified, 1,000 years ago. No, corn was spliced into other species that naturally occurred. It was not used with what's called a CRISPR. CRISPR is the technology where we can take a gene out of a salmon and put it in a tomato so the tomato doesn't freeze in your freezer. Sounds like a great idea until you find out what happens to the tomato. Your body can't recognize it as food. So, this is crazy, right? This is just crazy. I encourage everyone who's listening to go back to getting your own garden, grow your own stuff,
Right.
Local, stay within your area, stay with your local farmers. Ask for non-GMO. You vote with your dollar in this world. You vote
Exactly. Everything down to manure, they said that was dangerous, right? So they came up with a chemical to sell us, Monsanto, as a fertilizer, which is insanity, quite honestly. We're supposed to use everything. Everything in God's world has a purpose. So, recycling and that manure would get into the soil, which soil is a living organism. So a lot of our soils right now are depleted, and there are people out there doing regenerative farming and learning how to put the nutrition back into the soil. So that it can create healthy food sources once again for us.
Right. And I want to get into herbs. We're going to talk about herbs today and just how they are food and how food shall be your fruit and your fruit shall be medicine.
Come on with it. The floor is yours.
Oh, boy. Wow. Okay. Let me just preface it with saying this, and I know both of us have a lot to say, and we'll do the best we can for the listeners because we can't cover everything in herbology in one day. It's impossible. When we say herbology, we're talking about the study of herbs. And what are herbs? Herbs are simply food. An onion is an herb. Okay. So an herb is always classified that way when it brings a medicine to the body. For example, if you've never eaten a kumquat ever in your life and you suddenly eat a kumquat, your body will treat that like medicine before it'll treat it like food every single time. That's a fascinating fact, which means if you eat varieties of foods instead of the same thing every week, you're bringing new medicines into your body every time you try something new. If you've never tried kale and you eat kale, it's going to act like medicine, not like nutrition. Isn't that interesting? So when we talk about herbs, what we're saying today is we're talking about plants that have medicinal values that usually are not consumed like a banana or an apple. Just want to preface that. What do you got to add to that, Dr. Huston?
Well, and to your point, there's different ways to use the herbs. You can have them encapsulated. You could have them in a powder form. All of the things that matter. You can get different grades of herbs. We happen to like and have researched several. There's so many companies out there. How do you know you're getting good herbs? There's so much involved in the process of taking them and knowing what's good and how to coordinate taking them, when to take them, processes as far as how they are extracted, how they are, are companies using solvents to get the herb, or are they naturally extracted? I mean, there's a lot involved. It's not just it's not just a one cookie cutter type of dimensional product.
Right. Or just
You gotta know what you're taking.
Taking something like a little dried oregano and throwing it on a pizza is not medicine. Okay.
Right.
I want listeners to understand that, because people always say, well, I can grow my own, herbs. Yeah, you can, but you have to know how to extract them. You have to know how to encapsulate them, make teas and tinctures, right? Check the quality. Right now it's really, really hard to get an herb called skullcap. And if you go to a lot of local herbal stores, they have skullcap on the shelf. Yet, I'm big in this industry. I work in Nutritional Outlook. I work with standardization, TLC, all these different types of tests that are done on herbs. And every skullcap that's been tested on planet Earth is full of lead. So the general public doesn't know that. So you buy skullcap, they go, I got a headache. I read this herb does good for headaches. You just trust the store. Well, where did it come from? Did anybody test it for contaminants or heavy metals? So there's a lot to know. So, what we're trying to say here is, if you want our help, we're going to make sure that the only sources you're going to get are clean. All right. I only want to put good things in your body. I don't want you to some herb down at some local market that somebody grew in their backyard and was using Roundup. You got to be very careful, because one thing about herbs, a lot of them fall into the weed category, like plantain and comfrey. They're actually weeds. Dandelion.
Mm-hmm.
They're a nuisance, right? Their job is to pull toxins out of the soil, and then inside the plant they break that down, turn that back into organic, and they return it back to the soil as fertilizer. So weeds have great purpose. So the thought process thousands of years ago was the same thing. Hey, if you're toxic, I'll put a weed inside you. It's going to suck up the garbage, and out it comes. And that's exactly what herbs do in one aspect. They also build, they tone, they cleanse, they activate. They do many different things. So having somebody with some herbal knowledge, and you're talking to a bunch of us here, is really critical in your health journey if you want to do it right. If you want to help the body help itself, that's the key. And I do want to say this before I pass the baton, is I've been doing this for a long time. And I'll tell you this, I never gave an herb that cured anybody. Okay, and I've done over 20,000 people. And a lot of them are walking around that aren't supposed to be. Let me try to get you to understand what that means. Herbs don't cure anything. Herbs are a food. And when you put them in the body uses that as a medicine. Just like you would go to the garage to find a hammer or a screwdriver. The herb is the tool. The body does the healing. That's the way God created us. And all we're doing is scouring the planet, which God said everything you need has been given to you. Everything has been laid out before you. Every plant serves a purpose. Let me get you to understand this. Only 1% of all herbs on planet Earth have been studied for medicinal purposes. Okay? And yet 70% of every pharmaceutical you can name came from that 1%. What would happen if we studied the other 99% of all the herbs on planet Earth? The next chemotherapy is already out there. Doesn't have to be sick. So, I just want to get people a little excited about that. So thanks for letting me go off on that. So just understand that herbs are food. They're benign. They don't hurt you. Your body uses what it needs to do what it needs. And the body will heal itself. Thank you.
In addition, the reason chiropractic is so vitally important with that is that it helps the nervous system to function at its optimum capacity, which if you take the herbs and your body isn't functioning correctly, you want to do everything in your power to get it to work right so it can recognize the herbs and utilize them to the highest benefit. And then you really can just watch the body in its magnificence, because we were divinely and magnificently made, and we were made for healing. So like what Dr. J is saying is 100% spot on. The herbs don't heal, chiropractic doesn't heal, but these are mechanisms to get your body to do what it was designed to do, and that is to heal itself. And that's the glory of, I grew up in my father's office watching, I thought he was magic, because he would help so many people. It can even change genetics. We don't know what we don't know, but we do know that where the healing is coming from, it's the power that made the body that does the healing. So when you give it all the things that it needs, it has the best chance of recovery and true healing, not management, which is what our typical healthcare system is all about, managing a problem. Well, there's a lot of money in management, but I know from my own experience that if you can help somebody actually turn a health problem around, that's a healing. They don't have to be managing it for the rest of their life. And yet we all need to be stewards of our own health, and we have the responsibility to learn as much as we can so we can give ourselves the very best opportunity towards that healing. So
can y'all say that one more time? Because I really want that to sink into people's mind, that herbs don't heal. I think they really need to understand, what herbs really does to the body, because, just say it again, because I really want them to get that part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you don't mind, I'll go. Let me put it this way. Herbs never cured anything. However, they help the body help itself. And here's what I mean. If you're hot, I can give you an herb to make you cold. If you're cold, I can give you an herb to make you hot. So if you're cold and I give you crushed red pepper or Tabasco, what happens? You get warm. Mm-hmm. If you're warm and I give you spearmint, what happens? It cools the body down. Mm-hmm. So think of energetics, not physical. If you're tight, I can give you an herb to make you loose. If you're loose, I can give you an herb to make you tight. I never was not able to help somebody with constipation or diarrhea, if you understand the concept. Right? And that's what you're always trying to do with herbs, is give an herb to somebody so that the body says, oh, that's a tool. Now I know how to fix what's wrong with me. That's
a harmless tool.
Correct. First, do no harm.
Right.
Yeah, you take too many of the wrong herbs, the worst thing that'll happen is you get a bowel movement. That's about it. Okay? You're not going to end up in ER or on another drug to counter the drug that you just took from the last drug.
Exactly.
So somebody that was diagnosed with, and let's talk about men's for a minute, if y'all don't mind. Somebody diagnosed with prostate. What would you tell them when it comes to like the herbs to help with their body?
Well, first of all, you've got to know a little more than just that they have a prostate problem. You need to know a little more of their background, what is their lifestyle like, and what have you. And we also have a tool known as the AO scanner, which has been brilliantly designed, utilizing the technology of Tesla and Einstein in combination. Just like there is no cookie cutter remedy in medicine, which there really isn't. There's no cookie cutter remedy in the field of herbs. Every person is unique and has a different set of, for example, food sensitivities. The AO scanner tells you through your voice, because everyone's voice has an imprint specific to them, simply the same as your fingerprint is identical just to you. So we have ways of scanning the body and doing so in such depth and sensitivity that it'll pick up the areas that are imbalanced. So, for example, if you talked about the prostate, but I think about all the times when I'm dealing with patients that have, let's say they have issues with weak bones or something. It could be that they need some sort of mineral, or it could be that their kidneys need support. But you really don't know that until you look a little deeper and you do some more testing, which Dr. J and myself are able to do through that scanner, and also through muscle testing, which is directly asking the body what it needs and how much, and specifically what their individual necessities are going to be. So it's more involved than just saying, okay, I've got this, so I should take that, regardless of the condition.
Yeah, I agree. And so when we get these kinds of questions, for the listeners, please understand that we can't answer that question specifically to you without more information.
Right.
Otherwise, we're no good to you at all. You have to zero in. And so we like to use this AO scanner. It's one of the services we provide to you through Holistic Ministries, okay? And you can talk to Dr. David at any time and get a link to us to help you with that. That being said, you can look at it and say, well, I read about saw palmetto being good for the prostate. I've read about pygeum. I've heard about pumpkin seed. I've heard about vitamin D. I've heard about zinc. Here's the point. Yes to all of those. But does that mean you need all those? The answer is no. So what we try to do is not only figure out what's connected to what, because you can't just say you are a prostate.
Right.
Don't ever think of yourself that way. When I say they, a lot of times the medical model that's broken, the allopathic model, wants to compartmentalize you. You go to a general practitioner and you complain about, nocturia or urination at night, and the doctor says, well, I think you got your, prostate issue. We're going to send you to a urologist. And then the urologist looks at you and says, yeah, I got prostate issue, but I think it might be cancer. We're going to send you to a radiologist who's going to send you to an oncologist. Pretty soon, you're just pieces and parts. The way I look at it is your prostate is connected right below your bladder. It's connected right next to the colon. Whatever's going through the bladder and the colon is going to poison the prostate. This ain't rocket science.
I love the way y'all started it. You guys said, we got to know your lifestyle. We got to know what's going on with you. Somebody put a question in and says, how about corn whiskey for prostate?
End of question.
I know. But
you can have that one.
That's a new one.
So that's a new one?
Well, there's no one-stop shop. There's no one treatment.
Right.
There's no one herb. If you're going to hang your hat on that, you're not going to learn anything. Okay, because that's like saying one drug fixes everything for every condition. There are 130 different medications just for blood pressure. And sometimes you go through 3, 4, 5, 10 before you find the right one. Why doesn't the doctor just put you on one? Because what works for one doesn't work for all, and that's based on a lot of different circumstances: lifestyle, stress, environment, and even something called epigenetics, which is a whole other topic. That being said, we can help anyone if we can get a scan that gives us a good idea of what's connected to what. And sometimes the problem is coming from somewhere else,
Right.
not a specific organ. And that's the problem when you compartmentalize, is you lose the holistic picture of the person.
Right.
You know, many diseases in my career. So anecdotally, I could say this: 80% of every disease I've ever helped somebody with, they manifested it. What does that mean? They may have lived a lifestyle that created and nurtured that dis-ease. They may have been living in a stressful component or a stressful family situation, work, abuse, that helped create it. They may have had a mental capacity thinking negative thoughts that helped create it. They may have lost their way into the dark and lost God, and they're spiritually sick. The body follows. So that's what holistic is. So when you say, hey, what do we do for my prostate? We need more information.
Wow.
Right. And a lot of, the prostate is a male organ. So, for example, just from what Dr. J just said, there could be an emotional hurt somewhere relative to someone's manhood that was unresolved or unhealed or unforgiven or something along that line, which, that's a personal question that an individual needs to seek within themselves. But there's several books written on the topic of, feelings buried alive never die. It manifests itself in and around certain areas that literally when I'm working with somebody, I've done this for so long and I've studied so much of that aspect of it as well, that you can tell based on what someone's ailment is, you can kind of tell what their soul hurt is, if you will. So we're able to address that without, it's not for us, we're not trying to be counselors, but it's up to us to point out the different areas of ways and things that you have to look at in order to heal, and unforgiveness is a big one, whether it's towards yourself or others. I mean, cancer has been linked to that. There's a whole variety of ailments that are connected to emotions and feelings that have not been resolved and manifest in the body.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I know I'm loving this. I'm just sitting back, but y'all know I'm really loving this because it goes back, like you say. No God, okay. There's no light,
Right.
and when there's darkness, there's misery. It always come back to my emotions, my feelings, like you said, unforgiveness, bitterness, anger, and so in order to really address what's dealing with me physically, I gotta address what's dealing with me first spiritually.
Bingo.
So, y'all go ahead. I'm just loving this. I'm eating this up. I got my plate. I'm just slicing and dicing. Y'all go ahead. Go ahead.
It's just, that's why we say please ask questions, because I think both, Dr. Charisse and I, you ask these questions and then the brain starts going, right? And, we're dealing on the front line with people every day this way. Everything, the advice that we're giving you today for free is because we want to share what we know, what we've learned, and to give you a different perspective on how to take care of your temple. Think of your body as a temple. God gave you this body, right? Created in his own likeness. It's your job to take care of it. You would never go to a Mayan temple in Mexico and hit it with a spray paint can, would you? Or leave litter laying all over the temple? No, you would never do that. So why do you disgrace your own body? That's a good question. So maybe when you leave this podcast today, think about that today. Are you treating your body like a temple? Are you putting the right things, the right air, the right water, the right food, right? The good herbs that God gave us to heal ourselves, to build ourselves. Good scripture. Are you feeding the soul? Are you having a positive mind today, right? There's a lot that you can do. You have more control than what propaganda wants you to think otherwise. You're not a sheep, okay? Don't be a sheep. Be a shepherd. That's what God asked you to do.
And we are coming out, I'm so thrilled to work with Dr. David, because if we don't tell you, I mean, the majority of the world is looking at disease from an outside-in perspective, but really, as Dr. J eloquently said, you're you are manifesting it without even realizing that you do have more power than you've ever been taught. And I believe that we are more easily controlled that way if we don't think we have any power. Then, I mean, why is that funny?
Funny because I just got into an argument recently. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
That's okay.
Share this with a medical doctor, a traditional allopathic. I'm an integrated medical doctor. This is a regular medical doctor who does the drug route, right? Good friend of mine. And I was telling him, how we tackle health in a natural way, a holistic way, like we are right now, right? And he said, well, it sounds like you're putting all the responsibility back on the patient. And I looked at him and said, where do you think it belongs? With you?
Right.
You didn't create the disease. That person did. You didn't.
Right.
You didn't tell them to go home and smoke cigarettes. You didn't tell them to drink alcohol. You didn't tell them to do all these naughty things or have bad thoughts. Or, hey, who gave you that responsibility? The responsibility is the patient. So a doctor, what is a doctor? A doctor means to teach.
Teacher. Mm-hmm.
Not stick things in you and say, you better do this or else. If you're not learning, fire your doctor.
I like that. Right. Here's a question up in the thrown screen for you guys. You're missing a bigger number than that.
Right.
So to say that there's 7 key, no, you're talking about 72. You need to put it behind the 7. And we don't have time to cover all 72. Here's the point. You can get a lot of those things from naturally occurring, non-GMO, grown with love foods. But the world has become very toxic. You've got bad air, bad water, bad food. You've got electromagnetic frequencies from 5G. I could do this all day. Poisons, chemicals. If you knew it was in a new car, you wouldn't sit in one. The whole point is the world is toxic. Your clothes are now considered toxic. There are 9 different types of fabrics that are now known to cause cancer when you put on a shirt in the morning. I could do this all day. What is my point? My point is you better ante up. One of the things I want to get across to people is you need to supplement. End of story, because you're not getting it. Even if you think you are through your grocer, you're not. If you're going to local farmers market, you're doing way better. Excellent. Don't stop, but you need to up the ante. So when we say key, are we talking about stage 5 of disease, or are we talking about stage 1? Most people are living their lives at stage 4 in this country. Stage 5, you're dead. Okay? That's been proven. 83% of all Americans are vitamin D deficient. 96% are magnesium deficient. I can keep going.
Vitamin D. I mean,
that we don't even want to go there. So I'm going to answer the question, and then Charisse, you jump in, but I'm going to answer it this way. You need to supplement. You need to get back into whole food. You need to get back into organics. You need to start eating herbs. I take herbs every day. I will for life. I just turned 63. I feel awesome. I'm on 0 medication. You could do that too. Go ahead.
Exactly. Well, and between the two of us, we've spent a lifetime journey of studying what helps people to get well and stay well. And the world changes. And now, like he said, like Dr. J said, there's the onslaught of 5G. 5G is very toxic to our environment. But that's a whole nother show. So we're not going to cover all the bases today. And our goal is not to overwhelm you. It's so that you can utilize us as tools so that we can help you to break it down and give you a place to start. Otherwise, it gets really overwhelming. And depending on who you read and what you read, it's hard to discern what is actually true and what is not true. But the proof is always in the pudding. The proof is with the people that are the healthiest, that don't take meds. I don't take meds. Dr. J doesn't take meds. So, and I was raised with this lifestyle. My father was a practicing chiropractor. We were crunchy before that was a word. We were very holistic. He bartered with farmers, and so we always had fresh raw milk, Now, if you take milk today from the grocery store, you've changed it by pasteurizing it, and you've fortified it, and you've taken the fat out of it. It's no longer milk, and adults don't really have much business drinking milk. I mean, adult cows don't drink milk. But if you were, the raw milk has got benefit. The raw milk has probiotics in it, healthy bacteria for your gut. And your gut is your 70% of your immune system.
Right.
So everything goes back to the gut. So we want to create harmony for you, make it easy for you to get involved with your own health care, because unless you do, you may be headed down a path that you feel like you don't have any control over. And in all honesty, if you've listened to traditional propaganda or narrative, they used to say that smoking was good for your health. Are you kidding me? I mean, do you remember back in the day when smoking, it was a big marketing thing, and doctors were smoking? So it has to make sense. It has to go, if it goes into the body, if it goes into the ground and it produces a fruit or a vegetable, and you can take those seeds and regenerate it, those are going to be the most friendly to the body, most readily available to the body. And starting with your food is a very easy way to do it.
Right. Look at something as simple as alfalfa, right? That's a simple herb. And from alfalfa, we obtain chlorophyll, which is like blood of the plant.
Blood purifier.
And chlorophyll, alfalfa chlorophyll contains every single known vitamin and mineral essential for human life. So when people say, well, should I take a multivitamin? I'm like, did you hear what I just said? What is the cow eating? Alfalfa. And what does the cow give you? Milk, which is 25% calcium. Where did the calcium come from? The alfalfa. Why aren't you eating or drinking alfalfa if you want calcium in your body? No, the American dairy industry says, no, you have to drink milk and eat cheese, which is full of rennet, by the way. And the milk has been quick fried to a crackly crunch and it's dead. So, wow, let's look at alfalfa, right? I mean, it's so simple. It's part of the legume plant family. And if you look at calcium alfalfa and compare that to what it is in milk, you can't even put it on the same chart. It goes off the chart. Think of that. So when people say, well, I got to drink milk for my bones, who told you that?
The dairy farmer, or the American Dairy Association.
It's common sense. The cow is eating the alfalfa and giving you 25% calcium. Why aren't you doing the same? So I drink chlorophyll every day. It's also full of copper. Copper is necessary for your body to create stem cells, which creates new pieces of you. So to answer that question way a long time ago, what are the 7 key essential nutrients? Why aren't you drinking chlorophyll? And you wouldn't have to ask that question, because you're going to get everything that's necessary for human life.
But now they know, because you told them.
Yes. So let me say, for those that's watching and listening, and those that will be listening through Spotify and Apple and the rest, if you would like an AO scan, if you'd like an appointment with these amazing doctors, you have to join Kingdom Holistic Health Ministries to get the, I want to say, the benefits of the AOA scan, the doctors. You have to come through Kingdom Holistic Ministries to get there. How should I say it? The AO scan, 1 hour visit, is that the we call that the pre-scan. So that is $80 for the hour with these amazing men and women of God. And then the follow-up check is $50 with these amazing doctors. But you have to be a member of Kingdom Holistic Health Ministry to get this. And I urge each one of you, those that have asked questions, if you're concerned about your body, if you want to be healthy, if there's anything that you might want to do, I'm urging you, Your body is your temple, and it should be helped. You can't glorify God with sickness. You can't say God is good and you got all these tubes in you. You can't say God is good and you can't walk a half a block and can't breathe. Come on, we have to make sure our temple is healthy enough to represent God and do the work that God wants all of us to do. So this is why I reached out, and I'm glad they said yes. They want to come into our world, our communities, and help you live a better life. And then I'm gonna throw this question up while y'all can.
So I mean, to tackle that.
Go. Okay.
Alpha by itself is very, very fibrous, right? Meaning it would be difficult to chew. And a cow has 4 stomachs, so it goes through a very lengthy process to break that down. What I was mentioning was chlorophyll, which is squeezed from alfalfa. That's different, but you still get the vital nutrients and essential things. So if we were going to just eat alfalfa, no, it'd be very difficult for humans to digest that. It won't hurt you. It's just going to be very good fiber, but you can't break it down like a cow can, no. So therefore, we have to extract the liquid to get that calcium and those vital essential nutrients that we discussed. Good question. And, you know, I could go off on so many different herbs. You know, what was the herb that made the thorns on Christ's head at crucifixion?
Hawthorn berries.
Yeah, look at Dr. Huston.
All right.
Hawthorn berry. And if you Google hawthorn berries, it's phenomenal. I have actually helped people stop a heart attack with hawthorn berries. So if you think about the thorny berry, you think about the red of the berry, it denotes circulation, it denotes blood. And I think there's something very apropos about how that was a part of Christ's crucifixion. That's a powerful herb that we are yet to understand, yet it helps our heart condition and our blood flow. Phenomenal. It helps with the ejection fraction of the heart, how to align the heart and to work right, atrial fibrillation, a lot of different things. Yet your medical doctors don't know the first thing about hawthorn, but they'll tell you the first thing about digitalis, which comes from foxglove, by the way, which is an herb, and I could do this all day. But the point is, we have herbs. I want to go deeper into it. I hope your listeners are interested in that, because there's so much to learn about herbs, and there's so much to learn about chiropractic and emotional healing, and certainly, you know, good soup for the soul on this show. We want to keep it coming. So if you guys could please give us feedback, tell us what we're doing right, what we could do better, what you don't like, you know, zero in. If you have questions, we can always put them on the next show. What do you guys think of that?
Sounds good.
You know, you're mentioning heart conditions. Clinically, I see like one of the biggest things since COVID is people that come in with anxiety. I mean, they're living fearful lives, and they're all on some kind of anti-anxiety med. And I'm like, oh my heavens. Because the side effects from these anxiety meds are more anxiety. It creates, it's not going to help you to become more centered, to get your peace back, get your joy back. So there are definitely herbs that can help with that. There's scripture that can help with that. I mean, I tell my patients I give them key scriptures, and I tell them to stand out, you know, to stand in their living room and speak them out loud, because you know, the earth was created. God spoke the earth into existence. So what we're speaking to and what we are giving our energy to is going to expand. So we want to now focus on the healing, especially when Dr. J and I figure out what it is that is at the core issue, where to start with these problems. We're going to start speaking healing into you, which is a total difference in what the traditional doctors are going to be doing, because quite honestly, they do not have strong backgrounds in nutrition. They are taught protocols, and who actually denotes their education? And thank God we have great emergency care, as you said, Dr. J. But the protocols are all based on drugs, which is going back to the management of healthcare. You know, you ask them, how long do I have to be on high blood pressure medication? Well, for the rest of your life. Or, you know, well, but That's not necessarily true. If you continuously do what you always did, and no one ever tells you that you do have options and you do have potential, healing potential, and we give you all the ammunition you need to stand strongly and courageously and confidently in what we're saying, you are destined to have better results. Your body is destined to heal better.
Fantastic.
That's really what it's about.
Awesome.
All right. Well, it came so fast. We up to the hour. So I'm gonna put you on the screen and give you your final say. And because if I had my way, I'll keep y'all going all day. But
We would too.
no. So, but we will be back next month once they give me the dates. But we're going to be doing this once a month. Again, if you guys want to have an appointment with them, you want to get the special rate, you have to be a member of Kingdom Holistic Health Ministry. And you can call me at 414-676-0842. I can show you how to become a member, where you can get this wisdom from these awesome men and women of God who's brought to us to help us fix our temples. And the thing that I love about it is when you look at what they're saying to us and how they're telling you, it's everything spiritual and physical. Everything is dealing with your emotions. Everything is dealing with either you hate, you don't forgive, you don't even know your self-worth. I think once people start to become free in the mind, then they'll be free in the body. And so I get a little nugget every now and then. So our goal is to free the mind so their body can be free, their body can be healthy. And so I'm excited, you guys. And so I'm going to put y'all on the screen, or I will hold y'all hostage today. So.
Well, thank you again, Dr. David and Dr. J, for time shared today. This is what my passion is. I love sharing chiropractic. I love sharing healing. I love empowering people and introducing them to their healing power. Most people don't have a clue what that is. So this really is something vitally important, and especially in our climate today of the level of diseases that are coming down the pike, we have more and more. So we have to take our authority over everything, as it says in the Bible, to take authority over our health as well, and speak health and wellness into ourselves, our body temples, and our families. And we can do it together. We will definitely be able to help you get wherever it is your desired goal is and bring you to your infinite level of health. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I appreciate that. I'll let you go with this little nugget, since David was talking about nuggets, right? There was a study done in East Germany and Russia back in the 50s. I know that was a while ago, but it's still relevant because they used 11,000 people in this study, and there were 14 PhDs. So that's a valid study. And what happened was they gave people what was called Siberian ginseng, or what you may know as Eleuthero in the United States. And the consensus showed that taking 500 milligrams of that ginseng every day without let up, right? Those that studied had 100% protection from every virus known to man. You're not going to see that in the news. You're not going to see that on propaganda. You're not going to see that on Instagram. You're not going to see that anywhere but here. We're here to give you God's medicine. We're here to give you God's truth and God's light. And if you're interested, spread the word, get more people connected, because Dr. Charisse, Dr. David King, and I, we're doing this more so to help humanity in a positive light and stop a lot of the evil and the darkness that has happened and thrust upon us. We need to fight back, but in a good way. Use herbs, use this program, use the power of yourself, power of positive thinking, keep God in the middle, and you're going to do okay. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
So we just thank everybody for tuning in. Share this show. It'll be within an hour. It'll be on Apple, Spotify, and all the other platforms. But I just want you guys to understand this. God has connected us to help you. So you got to let us help you live a better life. And I'm a living witness. I started taking herbs, putting it in my body, and next thing you know, my body started craving them. And I mean, I've been feeling great the more I take them every single day. You know, I started when I was researching. It says take your shoes off and walk on the grass. Let your body, just walk. When we was kids, we did that and we ain't pay no attention to it. But as an adult, just to walk on the earth with your feet, it does so much for you. So I'm just grateful that the more I get with y'all, the more I go research, the more I study, the more I get strong in this. And I'm grateful to be a part of all of you guys. So I just want to thank you guys for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. This is Kingdom Holistic Ministries. We thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, may God bless you.
Amen.
Okay, what's going on? Wait a minute. We are having. Even the live stream don't want us to leave.
I guess not.
Okay, let's see if I can do it this way.